we're happy to be here, and I'm going to call on Carol Dalby, who is a representative and represents this area, and she's been so gracious to work out everything about having us here in Texarkana and be our host. So I want to let Carol have a few words, and then my partner and I will get us started. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Senator Elliott. On behalf of the Texarkana, Arkansas, parts of Miller County, because that's what I represent, and particularly the Texarkana, Arkansas School District, I want to welcome each of my fellow legislators here this morning. Thank you for making the drive. I've had several of you say, you have to drive this to Little Rock every time you come. And I said, yes, I do. So, you know, we're in a whole different spot of the world. We welcome you to Southwest Arkansas. I know we've got some other legislators from this area that are coming in because I've heard from them. And I appreciate y'all making the long drive down here. Looking forward to this day. And I appreciate everybody in the audience who has come. I think you'll find this eye-opening for our section of the state and what arts and technology mean for us down here and what it means for our state. So on behalf of everybody and the citizens of Texarkana, Arkansas, thank you for coming.
I'm Representative Les Warren from Hot Springs. I co-chair this group along with Senator Elliott. We're excited to go across the state and just really dig into what all the state of Arkansas has to offer as far as arts and the connection to technology. So it's a pleasure to be here. For those of you from Texarkana, thank you for hosting us today. I have had the pleasure of joining the House of Representatives at the same time that Representative Dalby did. She has been one of the best friends that I've had in the House, and I will just say that if any of you would like to come up and visit with me later, I can fill you in on a lot of different stories that maybe the news doesn't cover. Be glad to share those with you. Actually, you have an incredible representative in Representative Dalby. She chairs Judiciary, and not only that, she is as hard a worker as anyone in the House of Representatives. I meet with her almost every day before session, going through legislation, because this lady knows what's happening. She represents you well. So I am thankful that you send her. I hope you will continue to send her because she does an outstanding job. So I will just make a comment. It looks like we have a lot of back row Baptist. I mean, if any of you would like to come up a little bit closer, we have a couple of seats, but thank you for allowing us to be here. I am a former school board member. I was telling your Superintendent Kessler that I spent 10 years, a couple of those as president of the school board. That's another connection Representative Dalby and I have. And I have a very strong respect for public schools. We'll continue to fight for them. I met one other, I think your school board president, yes. So thank you for your service. You have a great school here. And so again, thank you for hosting us today. Right. Oh, one other comment. Marissa, would you mind, she is sort of our connection person for any details. She's sitting right here, wave your hand. Okay, if you need to know where the restrooms are, I know any of our Texarkana folks will help you, but she'll also help us get to lunch and any other details that you need. These are our two wonderful staff people, John and Marissa. Marisa, sorry, I knew I was saying that wrong. So ask them if you need any help, but we appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Les. You know, this is so exciting to be here because it is the Southwest, and I keep telling people all the time in the legislature, there is a part of the state that you've not been to. And if you don't do something about it soon, we're going to have to be connected to Texas or Louisiana, God forbid. So this is our way of making a statement. But, you know, Einstein said, imagination is more important than knowledge. Einstein said it, so therefore it has, to me, it means something. And I've always had a healthy imagination for what could be. And a lot of what we are doing here is asking folks to not look at Southwest and say, no, I got to go north now because there's nothing here. But the whole idea behind what we're doing is we partnered with Arkansans for the Arts, was to be imaginative about the creative economy and growing in place. Because we are not going to get, nor do I think we need to get, the next big box industry here in these wonderful timberlands with all that we have. What we need is a robust imagination with the data and the information we're going to bring today to ask us to think anew. What could we be? What is here that we can take advantage of? And I will tell you, it is a hard thing to get some people to catch that fire. But I come from the timber woods. I know what a fire is, and I know what kindling is. So we're just a kindling, and we're going to do this thing. But I want to recognize Arkansans for the Arts, because they're going to be presenting to you here in just a few minutes. But they have been the backbone to our imagination for years. In 2005, I started studying the creative economy and needed somebody to help me put my arms around it and think about what it could do to grow in place. And the other thing that we are looking at is not looking at art the same way and in a limited way, the way we always have, but kind of small d, so nobody will be confused, small d, democratize the arts and include so much of what we have imaginatively not included before. So I'm happy to be here today, and we have been to some other places, and this is might be our last place, that we can meet in person like this. So you might be very special in that regard too. We have some legislators here, and because we have some kids waiting, if you're a legislator, would you just say your name and don't talk the way we're talking? So why don't we start right here? Another Southwest fellow right here.
Yes. My name is Linda Klondike from Chesterfield, and my big brother is Ricky Klondike, who lives in Texarkana.
All right. These two right here.
Go ahead, Dave.
Because you're going to say your own name.
Yeah, I'm representing Davidfield, and I live in Magnolia. I'm representing 4 of these counties in Southwest Arkansas.
Okay.
Representative Johnny Riley up from Truman, which is very close to Jonesboro. We're just very happy to be with you.
You're a long way from home. We'll help you out.
Long way.
And I'm Denise Garner, and I'm actually Denise Furman Garner. My parents grew up in Texarkana, and my cousins are still here with Furman's Printing, and Damon Young is also a cousin. So anyway, we're thrilled to be here all the way from Fayetteville, and I bring greetings from the Furmans up there to the Furmans down here. So thank you for having us.
See, we're still part of Arkansas. I really appreciate that so much.
That's right.
Jamie?
I'm kind of short, so Representative Jamie Scott. I get picked on a lot. My second term, we'll start my third term in January. It's been a blessing to be on this caucus and learn about the arts. I represent Argenta, which is a very thriving area. A lot of North Florida, we have a lot of just arts. It's arts enriched, so I'm happy to learn about how we can make the connection with the economy. It's been really enlightening and enriching each session, just tying the economy to arts. And I think if we can learn more of that, that we can be better advocates for economic development. And so that's been my biggest takeaway from all these sessions. So thank you all for that.
Thank you, Jamie. Stephen, why don't you go ahead?
So I'm Representative Stephen Meeks from Greenbrier. I'm the senior member of the House, and I chair the Technology Committee. So I'm definitely
Don't we have something big coming up in 2024, Stephen?
a solar eclipse.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Yeah, right across the state.
I have been telling y'all, this is what I'm talking about.
A
Something
huge
like this
tourist
can be
opportunity
big.
for the state.
Absolutely. I've been telling people for 2 years, y'all, it's coming.
Yep.
Put it on the calendar.
We just
It's a
need clear
big
weather.
deal. That's right, what you're hoping for. Deanne, go ahead.
And I'm Deanne Vaught, and I'm from Horatio, so I'm not far from here. I've lived here my whole life, so I'm excited to be here today, and I agree. I'm glad that people realize that Southwest Arkansas is still here, and I look forward to new ways in which we can help grow our area.
And if I didn't say so, I don't think I did. I'm Joyce Elliott, and I grew up in Willisville.
And I grew up in Smacko.
It always goes back to Smacko.
Yeah. Class of nine people. You were always in the top 10. You didn't have to worry. Good grades, bad grades, you're in the top 10. Well, when we come to places, Representative Holcomb, you go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I never grew up. I'm Mike Holcomb, I represent District 10. I live in the Sulphur Springs community of Jefferson County. And I serve Jefferson, Lincoln, Cleveland, Drew, and Grant counties. I'm in my 5th term and I'm chairman of transportation. And it's a pleasure to be with you today. I've made many trips here before. Some of them were short trips. I was a faculty member in administration at Watson Chapel School. When we won the ball game here, it was a short trip home. But it cost more than it was to be a long trip. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you for that. You know, Bob Dylan, sings to us that we grow older, but that does not require us to grow up. And some of us have done that very well, And Carol, you have anything else you want to say?
No, other than, I was remiss, the artwork that you see around are from local artists in Southwest Arkansas. And they're down, Dr. Kessler got me 1836 gallery, 1864, it's one of those. Anyway, we'll drive past it today, legislators, but this is all art from Southwest.
This is really cool. So now we are because when we come to places, like if we're going to talk about a creative economy growing in place, we like to feature what's in place here already and feature local things that are happening, like the art that's around the room. But more than anything else, the big feature wherever we are, is our kids. And I think now, Lenore, we're going to have the kids. We're going to have Dr. Kessler come up and take care of making sure the kids are properly introduced. So this is one of the most wonderful parts of what we get to do, is see what's happening with the kids that are in the area. Come on up.
Really fast introduction. I realize that a lot of folks are here.
We're going to change the agenda up a little bit because we have kids in the house.
And this is Lenore, right? She's with our Kansans for the arts. They really run things. And we just try to do what they tell us to do.
So what we're going to do now is I'm going to introduce Dr. Becky Kessler, who is the superintendent of the Texarkana, Arkansas School District. And then we're going to change the agenda and bring on the children. So Dr. Kessler.
And I just want to welcome you to the Texarkana, Arkansas School District. We are very honored to have you here with us today. Just to tell you a little bit about TASC, we are the original Razorbacks. I just want to be clear about that because, yes, the University of Arkansas did not vote to change to be the Razorbacks until 1910, and we were well established by that time as Razorbacks. So I do hope you have a little time to spend in our store today. We have the best prices in town, so and very unique items. So please visit our store. We take cash or card. So please spend some time. TASD has approximately 4,000 students, pre-K through 12. We have 5 elementary schools. We have College Hill Harmony, and that is our music school. Every student over there has the privilege of playing a musical instrument by the time they finish 5th grade. And we base that on music and leadership. We also have North Heights Community School, which is just down the road here. And they are based on a micro-society school. They have their own government. And so they work with the mayor. They bring in people from across the community. Just behind us, we have Kilpatrick, and they are a biomedical school. The kids actually wear little lab coats. They bring in medical professionals from the school, from the community. We have Fairview Aerospace and Pre-Engineering Discovery School, and they were just accepted with the Department of Ed to be in the Cohort 6 PLC project. And then we also have Fairview Aerospace and Engineering School. And then our 6th graders are very fortunate because they have a brand new state-of-the-art 6th through 8th school. And we have just approved to build a walking trail out there, $250,000 walking trail, complete with an outdoor classroom. And then our high school students, they have vocational classes, and then they have the opportunity to go on to the college and can get an associate's degree. And we always believe once a Razorback, always a Razorback here, so they can go on to the University of Arkansas, and they are locked in at the college tuition rate, which I believe it's $76 a college hour. And it's amazing, that has really caught on. Last year, we had 10 graduates go on, and now they are at the University of Arkansas. Next week, we have another graduation, so we'll see, I think it's 6 or 8 of our graduates from Arkansas High will receive their associate degree next week, and then graduate from high school and go on to Fayetteville. So that's amazing for us. But when Representative Dalby called and asked, would we be able to host this? And then I talked to Dr. Schultz. I said, we are the perfect place for you, because we don't just have an art school or a science school or a technology school. We offer that in all of our schools every day. And so we believe that in order for our schools, our students to be successful, they have to have fun. It has to be exciting, it has to be stimulating. And we try our very best, and you're going to get to see this in a minute, that we have to foster curiosity and discovery. And we try that every day, and we encourage our students to do their best every day. And we believe that's what leads to success. And Texarkana has so many unique qualities, and I think you'll see that. So hopefully you'll get to spend some time this afternoon driving around, because we're very rich in the arts here. And you know, you will really see that when you drive, not just in our streets, but downtown, in our history and our arts. And we try to instill it in our kids. So I don't want to take too much time, because you're really going to get to see what we're bringing up in Texarkana. So again, we are glad you're here, and hopefully you enjoy your day. These are our elementary kids, and you're going to get to hear from one of our high school teachers a little later. But these kids are in an art school, but they're going to teach you all about robotics. So we infuse it all the way from kindergarten all the way up. But again, thank you for being here. Hope you enjoy your day.
I'm going to ask Tracy Boyles, who's the principal of Trice Elementary School, who will then introduce these infinitely adorable children.
What's your name?
Well, good morning and welcome to Texarkana. I am Tracy Boyles. I'm the principal. I've been at Trice Elementary School now for 5 years as the principal. I'm not a local to Texarkana. I married a local boy who went through TASC school district. His whole family went to the University of Arkansas. We actually met and got married in North Carolina and moved back here. But we'd come here in the summer to visit his family, and my family's down in Waco. And he would always tell me about his, experience in TASD and going to Arkansas High School. And I remember driving down this road and seeing this big administration building, and I was working on my education degree at the time. And I always thought, man, I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of that tradition and that family. And because TASD has such an amazing tradition that goes way back. And like I said, his family, parents, grandparents went to TASD, and it's just, I'm very glad to be a part of it. And our children now are a part of TASD, and I get to work with the children and the parents and the teachers at TASD. So what a magnificent thing. But so Trice Elementary School, I'll tell you a little bit about that. So we are a performing arts school. My background has been middle school social studies and science teacher. Then I went into administration. So when I came to Trice Elementary School, I just fell in love. And my daughters went through Trice. They love the performing arts. We have drama, strings, African drums. They play ukuleles, violins, violas, all kinds of things. We have gymnastics. We have all different, performing arts things. This year, so I've been there for 5 years. This year, my 5th year, I wanted to do something to capture the students that maybe weren't particularly performing arts, because we have some students that, they're not they don't like dance, or they're not the drama type. So knowing my staff like I do, and my background with science, I knew I had the perfect person to open up an exploration lab. So I called on Miss Carver, who is our exploration lab teacher. She and I were actually at the middle school together, College Hill Middle School, and she was one of my pre-AP science teachers. So when I moved to Trice, fortunately, I got to bring her along with me about a year later. And so I told her my idea about an exploration lab, and I didn't want it to be a science lab. I wanted to explore. The students could come in and explore ideas that they had, and it has really taken off. It's been phenomenal. We were just awarded last month a $3,000 grant to buy 3D printers. So we're going to be adding 3D printers, but she has done an amazing job. They do gardening, coding, robotics. I know she'll come over here and tell you some more things, but she works with the general ed teachers, and she pulls some of the things that they're doing in their curriculum into her classroom and just takes it to that next level, the exploration lab level. So we're very, like I said, very, very excited. These students are actually our competition team. The little guy, Caleb, he is kindergarten. He is one of our kindergartners. So yes, kindergartners can code. Kindergartners can code, and they are pretty amazing at coding, and they love the exploration lab. They just hatched chickens in the exploration lab a week ago. So we had 11 chickens that finally went to their forever home, which was good. So they caused quite a quick curiosity. But Caleb, like I said, from kindergarten all the way to 5th grade, our students are involved in robotics and coding, and all the different not just technology, but like I said, gardening, horticulture, things in the exploration lab. So I'll introduce them real quick with you. Ricky Lee, he's one of our 5th graders. Slay. Oh, so I'm sorry. Okay, John's gonna do it. All right, so let me be quiet now then, and let me hand it over to the experts. All right, John.
I'm John, Chloe, Bella, Lily, Caleb, Emma, Ricky, Slade, Matthew, and Knox. We went to Searcy, Arkansas for our first Legal League competition. And we placed 6th. We got in 6th place when we were going against other elementaries, other middle schools, and even high school. It took us 4 months to get ready, make a presentation, and do all of the challenges that we had. During those 4 months, we had to practice 16 missions on the table. We had to practice being a team while we had to do a presentation for our competition. Our challenge was to improve the way parts were transported, so here is our idea to the Dollar General. We decided to do Dollar General, so when people get their groceries, they can also get their packages. Here's a floor plan of package depot, and here's a conveyor belt putting packages on the unit. Another reason why we chose Dollar General is because they have people go to spot the road and count how much cars go by, so we can see the most popular cars for Dollar General placed. So I'll make package depot, be right next to a couple of cars. But if you're elderly,
for disabled and you cannot drive, we did create a way to where you can share your QR code to family or friends where they can go and get this back and forth. We also picked up Emily from she first got her watching and after
Well, what our kids did, they did the competition. It's not about just robots. They have to solve a challenge. And the challenge this year was to improve transportation of a package. So it's amazing, and I was there, and it's all student-centered. It's the hardest part for me is not to help, you know, so they came up with a package depot to help not only for us to get our packages or not being stolen off our porches or anything, but their original idea was very compassionate toward the deliverers, the guys that have to work, you know, till 8 o'clock at night. Because one of the guys have a neighbor, I think, that's like 1 year old and he never got to be with his family. So that's how it went. But believe it or not, like a month after we got back from competition, Amazon did it here in town. They made it, it's called an Amazon depot, but I was like, wow. You know, we would have got that. But these kids are really amazing. They teach me, actually, I don't get to teach them much, you know, so they are very amazing. And like we said, I'm sorry, I'm bragging on all of them, just for enduring me the 4 months. But Emma we'll show you last, I'll just go ahead and say that last, okay? So what we're gonna do right now is, we're gonna just spend a few minutes, because I know y'all busy, and just show you a little bit of everything we do in class. And this is not done with just them, it's done with 600, how many kids are there? 620 kids. They come through my lab, and they're, depending on their level, they're integrated in some kind of robots. And I was losing my mind, 600 something kids, I was like, I'm gonna do this. So the kids gave up their activity and came and taught the class with me. So that was awesome right there. And Miss Lewis was walking down the hall one day and she was like, that little Ricky Lee's a good teacher. I said, can I have today off? But anyway, right now we're just gonna show you a little bit about what's going on.
While we're setting up, if anybody has any questions.
All right. Good.
I need hearing aids with this thing, Dave.
There it goes.
That's something I do, that ain't taking.
This, and we'll give you right here, let's turn this. I wanna show this one off because this was one of the missions that we had to do, and if we couldn't bring our competition table, or y'all wouldn't have had room to sit. But, we had to deliver this package to the doorstep. So, and it had other obstacles in the way, we just kinda made this for people to get it. So let's go ahead. This guy right here, Matthew plays the xylophone with his robot. Go ahead, Matthew. He tries to throw balls at me all day. So I just tell him, you better not lose those balls. We integrated art for the kindergarten roundup, and these dash and dots draw. And we make points. Lindley here, she just dances around with her little cubes and picks up cubes, and I was kind of scared of the carpet here. She lost her cubes. And then, of course, this is my pride and joy too, right here. You ought to see when I have about 20 of these little guys. And they're learning the word algorithm the other day, and because they're like, can we do the algorithm?
not the robotics. I was like, yeah, so what does that mean? And they go, input, output, can we please have the mouse? You know? And then I'll go, okay, you know. So, and he has to figure out the space, time, turn, and everything. And y'all know, guys, that this process is good for reading and writing. I mean, when they go in math, when they're going in there, then they can figure out the steps. They do the program, figure that out. So anyway, Emma. So Emma came late. She was a drama kid, and me and the drama teacher fight all the time over kids. And when I did the robotic unit in class, I was like, girl, you're the team. She's like, what team? I said, robotics. And Stevens comes down the hall, you cannot. So, but anyway, go ahead, Emma, come up here over here, please. Now when I went to robotics school, it came up on my memory every year. It was 2008. The district sent me to 2 years of robotics school. I mean, like in the summertime, I had to go for 7 days and really work, like homework. And I didn't like it at first, but anyway, I did this a little bit, but never as well as she did. I was watching her one day in the hall, and she actually the robot was playing music while I was being noted. So it was awesome. So here's our little showpiece. So y'all, who in here's Arkansas fans? Okay, step back, baby. What's wrong? All right. The wonders of Texarkana. We don't get her feet. This is the wonders of technology right here. We have to wait. How you doing over there? You can come up here. How about if y'all move over here? Yeah, go ahead up here, Knox and Matthew, come on this table and y'all can show them so you can see what I want to stand up while Hannah's working on hers. Come over here. Give us a second, please.
David's gonna get down there with him, aren't you, David? Yeah. I'll get down there with you, David. Yeah. I never got enough of it, David.
Let the kids see your stuff.
Not a book, not an old book.
Hey, Bam. Is this gonna be our new Mattel industrial site for the South?
Go ahead, what is this, sir?
You never know, David. Yeah. They may start a toy.
Oh my God.
New stuff, man. Ain't that something, David?
Thank you, guys. Thank
Good job, great job. Good job.
Great job.
Thank you very much.
Good job, man.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Yes, sir.
We have some adults in room 49.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, y'all, this is Teacher Appreciation Week, so let's give the teachers a hand. And so real quickly, the last, what's one more thing?
I'm sorry, but I could not have done it without the parents of these children. They stay in hotels with us, and I'm not the teacher when I get there, I'm like, your mom's here. Thanks to the parents.
Yeah, last thing we'll do before we turn it over to the real experts, is because we need to know who's in the room today. We made a valiant effort to try to get people here from other different parts of the Southwest. So if you don't mind, whoever you are, starting right here, because we are gonna be short on time if we're not really careful. Just say your name and where you are and what your position is, just so we will know, because we're nosy. Can we start right here?
I'm Alan Brown, I'm the mayor of Texarkana, Arkansas.
Oh, hey, Mr. Mayor.
Eric Etheridge, I'm the media manager for the city of Texarkana, Arkansas.
Brandon Cogburn, I'm the chair of the AMP Commission and also chair of the Election Commission.
All right. Sandy Barner, and I'm on the Arkansas AMP Commission.
What's AMP?
Advertising.
Promotion.
Yes, hello. I'm Jennifer Block. I'm the Executive Director for the Southwest Arkansas Arts Council and Hope.
I'm Ellie Baker. I am the Economic Developer for Magnolia.
Tammy West, I'm the IT Project Manager of City of Texarkana, Arkansas.
Remica Gray, Chair of the Arkansas Arts Council, and I'm the Texarkana Symphony Board of Directors.
Christopher Bachers, I'm an instructor at U of A, Hope, Texarkana.
I'm Dr. Heather McKnight. I am the Interim Dean of the College of Arts, Sciences, and Education at Texas A&M University, Texarkana. But I am a TASC alumni and mom, because my youngest will graduate next year.
Harry Brown, Mayor of Stevens.
I'm Divya Chaudhary, Dean of College of Business Engineering and Technology at Texan University, Texarkana.
Okay. Chris Briscoe, I'm the engineering and robotics teacher at Arkansas.
I'm Mike Malone, I'm president of the Texarkana Regional Chamber.
Frank Coleman, I'm president of the Texan Arkansas School Board.
Jonathan Crosby, proud superintendent of Hope Public Schools.
Yes.
Always in the house today.
Jay Ellington, City Manager, Texarkana, Arkansas.
Anna Powell, University of Arkansas Executive Director for Advancement. So Hope in Texarkana.
Dr. Bullock, are you going to introduce yourself to see?
I'm Ron Bullock. I'm the coordinator of technology.
All right. Anybody else here from the Southwest that we haven't met? Oh, that's, go ahead.
Jennifer Unger, I'm the Executive Director at TRAC, the Texarkana Regional Arts and Humanities Council.
Hi, I'm Emily Ingstrom. I'm the administrative coordinator at TRAC. Ina McDowell, and I'm with Main Street.
Andrew Clark, I'm the Executive Director of Texarkana Symphony and the General Manager of the Pro Theater and the current Vice Chair of Arkansans for the Arts.
I see two people.
Heather Sawyers, I'm the city clerk for the city of Texarkana, Arkansas.
Okay.
Jenny Norris, and I'm her deputy.
So I'm going to turn it over to the folks from Arkansas for the Arts is all yours. And we likely will not have time for questions, and I know that, you might have some, but it'll be up to them whether or not we can say them. All right? I'm going to sit on it and enjoy it.
Well, and since we introduced everybody else in the room, I'm going to acknowledge Garbo Hearn. You're going to meet Sandy, who's presenting today. Have we left anyone out who's in the room? What a super crowd, and I have to tell you, as you might imagine, no one wants to follow what you just saw. And actually, the truth is, I think they've made the entire case for art and technology. We could have had other examples, but of course, due to COVID, especially early on, we couldn't meet like this, and we certainly couldn't expose kids, vice versa. So I'm glad that we were here and actually had this opportunity. And I must emphasize the fact that they are a performing arts school. They're an art school that incorporated technology, because those of you that have been attending these sessions have heard me say over and over again, we need more art and technology and more technology and art. And that's the perfect example. I have a clicker here to advance the slides, I guess. Is this it? Yes. Yes. And it's going to be, all right. Well, the goal of the boot camp is to grow the creative economy. And one aspect of Arkansas's creative economy that we actually can build on instead of waiting for an auto plant or a big box store is the creative economy between arts and technology. And that goes way beyond traditional arts, much as we all love the traditional arts, because in this climate, it also includes things like craft beers, custom aircraft cabinetry. And the end result of all this creativity and innovation is a better quality of life for everyone, increased entrepreneurship, because creative people are natural entrepreneurs, new ideas and innovation that grow business, and a skilled workforce. Just related to this boot camp project, we've lost 5 young talents to other states. We haven't even been working on this 1 year because they had better opportunities elsewhere. So these are people that are primarily in the arts. Oh. Ah. Okay. Can you advance the slide? All right. Why art and technology? Because they're building blocks. For example, we teach kids how to play sports, right, to strengthen their bodies. We teach reading and math because they're vital. But I might point out there was a time that we did not think that everybody needed to learn how to read and write. And yet today, it's vital. But where do kids learn how to grow imagination and creativity? In the arts. Next slide, please. Do we have a crystal ball? Well, we kind of do. Next slide, please. As many as 65% of children in school today will work in jobs that have not yet been created. I'm going to say it again. 65% of children in school today will work in jobs that have not yet been created. And if just think about in the course of, well, gosh, in my lifetime, but think about how many things have changed over the last just couple of decades. Next slide, please. We're going to laugh about it, but in 1900, there were people who thought that cars were a fad and the only reliable transportation would be the horse and buggy. Now, those who were thinking ahead are still household names. Think Ford. So this moment right now is pivotal because your investment in art and technology is going to prepare our children and grandchildren for the future here in Arkansas. Next slide, please. Driverless vehicles are on the horizon. A whole new design aesthetic is going to explode for vehicle design, fueling stations with restaurants, retail space. And so we need to be preparing these kids for the future. Next slide. You heard from the robotics team. Now, not only are they combining art, engineering, and technology, clearly these kids, what's kindergarten? 6, 7 years old? Think about the problem solving. We saw them problem solve in real time in front of us at what? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. Imagine if we give these kids the tools, what they're going to be able to do when they're in their full careers. So these are the building blocks that we can provide for all of the kids in Arkansas. Next slide, please. Virtual reality started in gaming. I will be perfectly honest, I could not even understand what the deal was with gaming, what the purpose was. I just didn't get it. Turns out it's the perfect intersection of art and technology. It also turns out I was at the doctor's office and I picked up one of the magazines in there, and those pictures on the left-hand side, apparently surgeons are learning and practicing their surgical skills using virtual reality. I see people nodding. They knew it. I didn't know it. Also turns out they're using virtual reality to help reduce pain. Well, think about the opioid epidemic and think about if there was something like virtual reality that could help reduce pain, the impact that could have. So I bring these up because these right now it's unfolding. It's right here before our eyes. So teaching things that seem like, oh, come on, certainly we're not going to teach gaming to kids who are going to just sit in front of a console in the basement. But the reality is learning those skills is what's going to prepare them for the future we can't even imagine. But what are we doing now for all of the students? Next slide, please. Whoop. Virtual reality, even already today, in fashion, is a multi-billion-dollar industry. I didn't know this either until this research. Turns out that luxury brands are investing heavily in virtual clothing and accessories that are worn by avatars in the gaming spaces. And pretty soon on the horizon, your avatar is going to be wearing what you just paid a fortune for, and then you're going to get to wear the same thing out here in the real world. So I'm just beginning to wrap my head around these possibilities. Next slide, please. We've spoken about 3D imaging at previous boot camps. Clothing is going to fit more perfectly with 3D imaging. What's the big deal with that? Other than we would like our clothes to fit? The big deal is there's so much waste in the garment industry. Those of us that go shopping know this brand has this size, this one has this size, it's all across. All of that is waste. So the impact financially on the garment industry, when we're able to fit directly to the consumer with 3D imaging, is going to be huge. And with all of our online shopping, I don't know about you, I get stuff, it doesn't fit, I send it back. What I didn't know is a good portion of that stuff ends up in the landfill. I thought it went back to the company, they put it on a shelf and resold it. No. And so we're solving multiple problems with something as simple as, well, starting with 3D imaging. But how are we preparing all students for that? That's an airplane interior. Apparently the future of air travel is actually very comfortable, And in the future, it's going to require interior designers, furniture builders, and numerous other arts-related skills for these customized little spaces that are going to be available to you on the airplane if you spend a great deal of money. Here, custom aircraft cabinets in Arkansas is always looking for workers. You know what I'm going to ask? How are we preparing all of our kids? Next one. We've discussed the laminated wood industry before in these camps. But designing with these new products is going to create new opportunities, especially here in Arkansas with its vast timber industry. And these kinds of products are going to require same thing. The engineers, the people that design the wood, the people that design the buildings, the interiors, it's endless, the intersections of art and technology. And what are we doing to prepare our kids for this future? Next slide, please. Future's here. There's no question but that art and technology are part of that future. The question is, how are we preparing everyone for it? Format was just announced last week, and it stands for Music, Art, and Technology. You're going to be hearing a ton about it because this is, Sandy would say, the hottest festival nationally that's going to be held in Northwest Arkansas this coming summer, right? So this is already planned, and just yesterday, Fort Smith announced Community School of the Arts pre-K program, 3 to 5-year-olds. But there's only 35 kids that are going to get to be in that program. So you can imagine the rush the parents and grandparents are going to have to get their kids involved, but you know what I'm going to say. How are we preparing all kids? So we've got to provide opportunities in art and technology for students, and I might add citizens, all the way through to elders, but throughout the entire state. More art and technology, more technology and art. We can certainly grow the creative economy, and quite frankly, when you look at this little slice into the future, we're thinking of it in creative economy, but you can see where these are going to turn into major industries. But the question's going to be, are they major industries here in Arkansas? And if we prepared our young people to be able to stay here in Arkansas. And so now I'm going to bring up Sandy Martin, who's going to discuss the data reports. And actually, Chris, is he there? Thank you very much, because we're having to wiggle our program around a little bit. So please welcome Sandy.
I'm gonna try this. Is it the right one, Alton? Yes. Okay. For those of you who have not been at boot camps before, we have a research tool called Creative Vitality Suite from WestStaff that digs into the creative economy. And we provide every boot camp the arts district. There are 8 arts districts that are make up the state. They align for economic developers and in city, they align with the economic development districts. So they're the same series of counties. So this is District 7 in arts districts, and we provide each county breakdown of the most current research. It's based on 2020 data on that. This is our District 7, and you can see that we look at a Creative Vitality Suite Index, which gives in this district's it's 0.36, which means it's operating at 36 potential compared to the United States. The bottom figure, 0.73, is compared to Arkansas. So this district, as far as the creative economy goes, creative industries, is operating at 73% of its potential against our own state. Also breaks down industry sales, compares earnings and occupations. In the county, and there are breakdowns, and each packet has all of the 10 or 12 counties that are breaking down there, but I wanted to focus more on what's new. We now are providing zip code data for any zip code within the state, which is critical when you want to dive down and look at a particular district, for example, or a city compared to another city. So what this does, this is Miller County compared to Texarkana in the zip code, and you can see how the vitality index and the sales change and the industry type changes. Also, the occupations might change, and it becomes very interesting. Now, Texarkana wasn't an extreme example of it, but if you get to Union County with El Dorado and you pull out just the MAD district, you can then see some of the changes. What this is valuable for, this is Nashville with the Crater of Diamonds, but you can see that. You can see how much is concentrated in the county and how much is concentrated in the area that's getting the most attention, potentially the most funding. But then you got to look at the occupations, the jobs, and the potential. And so you can start doing research like this. This is going to be critical when the legislators start doing their reports, to be able to pull this out, to be able to compare and contrast, and to also look at opportunities that lie within your county that you can start collaborating with a partner. And I just want to do one last thing, and that is to congratulate Texarkana. You just became, and Mr. Mayor, you just became the 8th city in the state to complete the Competitive Communities Initiative. So that is terrific, and congratulations to you. Hopefully you see that all of this is fitting in really, really well with that. Not that we had the stack, but we sort of did. So anyway, congratulations again.
While he's going up, I forgot to do one thing. Last we were supposed to adopt the minutes, and I forgot to do that. So moved, but there's second adopt the minutes. All in favor? Aye. Aye. That's our business.
All right, my name's Chris Briscoe. I usually don't dress like this. I'm usually in an engineering classroom or on top of a roof of a building, helping kids learn how to roof or build robots. The creative economy is what she was talking about, and I realized getting ready for this presentation that I've grown up in that space my entire life. I grew up in Texarkana, split between 2 states and 2 cities. The butterfly artwork over there is my father's. My father taught art in this district for 42 years. My wife, I went up to Henderson, got a degree in chemistry, and met a girl and knew better. She was going to be an art teacher, and I knew those people are crazy. So I got married, and my wife has taught AP art on the Texas side here in town for 25 years. She is she's been named the National Art Educator of the Year. She has been the Texas Art Educator of the Year. She is published for Davis Publications. So I grew up in the art world. I grew up in the technology world. My mom taught 42 years in TASC district as a 5th grade science teacher. So I grew up, I've lived my entire life between both of these worlds. And the big idea is that there exists a space between technology and art, and that's where the innovation lies. To me, and maybe it's my upbringing, a paintbrush, a brayer for ink, a line of code, or a gear, they're all just tools. And you just have to learn how to use the tools to solve the problem that you're given. We quickly went through this. I won't go through it again. I am a non-traditional teacher. I was in industry for 20 years, solving problems on a daily basis. I worked in the pharmaceutical industry as a production facility, ended up there as a director of technical and regulatory affairs, went on into consulting, worked for Johnson & Johnson, did a takeover down in Tampa, Florida of a company, was on the road 5 nights a week, and my kids at the time were 5 years old, and I said, no, that's not it. I'm not doing that. Came back and went through the Apple program, which most of you, if you know much about education in Arkansas, it's a non-traditional pathway. And I guarantee you 80% of my teaching philosophy is summed up in a TED Talk from 2010 that's a 10-minute video. It is the best thing I've ever seen, and every time I stumble across it again, it's one of those things I stop and rewatch. I won't bore you with it here. I'll send a link to it if you want to watch it. But 2 of the things he says is we must encourage more patient problem solving. I get kids in my class every year that are great students. You've seen the potential we have coming up from our elementary school. I get academically gifted students, but when I tell them they're going to build something with their hands to complete a task, they're terrified. It's not 3 pieces of information they plug into a formula and get the answer that's supposed to be in the back of the book. They have to deal with real world problems. They have to deal with things not working. They have to deal with technology issues. They have to deal with the reality of getting things to work the way you want them to in the situation. The theoretical does not always match up with the practical. You have limited resources, you have limited budgets, you have things you have to accomplish in certain amounts of time where they have to solve those problems. And it's not like getting a 30-word answer to a essay question done in time to move on to the next one. This is me down here at the bottom. We build a machine to solve a problem. The test doesn't work. That terrifies kids. It terrifies them. You mean I can't look in the back of the book and find the answer? We move from traditional classes on person or inline class instruction. We need that. We have to have that general dump of knowledge where kids learn new things. But that's just the surface. That's just facts. I have my kids hold up their phones at the start of each year and I say, every answer to every question I could ever ask you is in your hand. What you do with that information and how you apply it to something new is what I'm looking for. We go through structured activities, the Lego kits, and all the robots you saw here, we start with even in high school. Then we get into design. How do you make it custom? What is the difference between a Dell computer and an Apple computer? It's function and user interface. That's where design comes in. Trial and error, evaluation of their design, acceptance of failure. Kids today are terrified to fail or to get the wrong answer. They don't think there's value in getting the wrong answer. And it's more valuable to me than getting the right answer 90% of the time. You learn what not to do. You learn why it broke. You learn why things work the way they do. Then the big word for me is iteration. Kids are so inundated with work. They think they have to finish this task to move on to the next one. They don't go back and revisit their idea and make it better. And that's all we do in my classes. Okay, we've got it working now. How do we make it better? How do we make it run faster? How do we make it less expensive? How do we make it look better? How do we make it the right color people would pay for? And then we go into fully functional student manufactured products. I meet with, being from the industry and being from around here, I know a lot of the industrial people. I know Leadwell, I know Mayo, I know Humco, I know all the big businesses around here. I've worked at a lot of them. And all of them tell me what they are missing and what they want for their workers to come into is people who can fabricate new equipment. They want people with measurement skills, with problem-solving skills, with the ability to create something new in-house that they don't have to outsource. And I choose to do this through robotics. I teach 3 classes of robotics. I teach intro, second year, and advanced robotics. And I also teach 3 classes of engineering, intro, principles, and civil engineering and architecture. But through robotics, it spans all of these things. You go through coding, you go through computer-aided design or CAD drawings. You have to be able to spatially be aware of your environment, to know how these parts are going to fit together and how to represent them so other people can manufacture them in mass quantities. Hands-on assembly, tools and measurements, UAHT, Henderson, TAM, they all said when your kids get to us, they need to know tape measure math, how to use basic hand tools if they're coming into the engineering program. These are skills that are lost in digital learning. Yes, we need it. We need basic information and facts given to students that you can get digitally or you can get remotely. But the art of putting your hands on something and manipulating it and working it is starting to become lost. And that's what colleges and universities are really seeking. That's what they come to me and tell me. If you can do this CAD programming, you can be trained in how to do CNC milling work. The CNC mill that we were fortunate enough to get approved through our school board in my shop was directly spec'd out by Mayo Manufacturing. Their CNC mill operator said, this is what you need to buy. If you buy this and your students can use this equipment and this software, they can walk out of high school into a job in our factory, not as a laborer, but in CNC engineering. So that's the partnerships I look for. We go to community partnerships, and then you get to student pride. You saw it with these young kids, how happy they were that their devices worked and how prideful they were to show you the work that they've done. It carries on up through high school, which today, competing with cell phones and social media, to have high school students, I have high school students now who are seniors who are, today is their last day. Today is their last day of high school, and they're asking to come back to keep working on their competition robot, which I was like, are you okay? These are some of the CAD drawing examples. These are actual student drawings. The two on the ends are guided exercises provided in the software. The one in the middle was a bracket that I had just laying around my shop, had about a dozen of them. I gave them to the kids, and I gave them a pair of dial calipers and said, I want you to draw this. Where are the instructions? Here's the tool, measure it, set your computer to the right measurements. They were able to draw this from life. We'll go through examples of robots we build. We start with the Legos you saw here. Even with high school students, they need a refresher, but they learn coding, how sensors work, drive control, autonomous programming. We move into some more advanced robots. VEX are larger. Think about erector sets when you were a kid, the metal parts that snap together. They still have directions and they still have pre-built plans and instructions. They start to get into these V5 VEX robots, which are just more modern. They have touch screen interfaces and things like that, but all the while they're learning how sensors work and the coding language of C++. We get all the way down to these workflow computers that are robotic arms that simulate Cooper Tire, local industries, done $23 million worth of robotic upgrades to their facility. They have two gigantic 3-story robotic arms that move raw tire components into their cure room. So it's all done robotically now. They're about to get, I think they're going to end up with about 200 Amazon-style robots that move materials through their plant. So I know people that I graduated high school with from this district 30 years ago who have gone to work right out of high school to Cooper Tire, who were forklift drivers and logistics people within the plant. And I've talked to Mike the other day and I said, what are you doing now with all the robots? He goes, I figured I needed to learn how to repair robots because my job went away. He said, but Cooper Tire is retraining everybody that was displaced into new technology. So they're doing this. Local industries, Cooper Tire, we just mentioned, Leadwell's a heavy equipment operator. They were one of our sponsors for our competition robotics team. Smith Blair does heavy assembly and fabrication, welding, but all of their welding now is done robotically. So once you get the skills to code the robots, you can go be a welder robotically. This is, I have a competition team. I've had it since 2018. We go to a program called FRC, First Robotics Competition. It's the guy who came up with the Segway scooter. He developed the wearable insulin pump. His name's Dean Kamen. He sponsors it all. There are about 10,000 teams globally that participate in this. Our robots we build are about 125 pounds. Every January we're given a task that we have to accomplish, and that's it. We're given parameters of a task. Instructions are out the window. Here you go. Figure it out. But then we have these students. This year we won the Arkansas Regional Competition that was held in Searcy. Thank you. It was very unexpected, and we had a very short turnaround time. We went too far. But anyway, we won the first Robotics in Searcy. That got us a wild card bid to Globals in Houston. We went to Houston, thanks to our local industry partners. We raised some money very quickly and got down there. 412 teams from around the world. We were talking to robotics teams from Australia, Canada, Israel, Turkey, Taiwan. It was held in the George R. Brown Convention Center. There were 30,000 people in the room. And it was 4 days of nothing like you've ever seen. If you get a chance to go watch it online, see it in person, it will change the way you see education and robotics in our country. This is a shot of just an overview from up in an observation window. As far as you could see, half the population of Texarkana in one building. We got done. We did not win. Everybody kept asking, did you win? No, we did not. These teams have been doing, our team number is how these teams work. Our team number is 6586, 6,586. They give you a team number based on when you signed up to be in the competition. One of our competition teams from Arkansas is Team 16. There's no other numbers, it's just Team 16. They've been doing this for 30 years. We were fortunate to get there to be with them, and they got knocked out the round after we did, and they didn't win. There was a robot from Canada that jumped 8 feet in the air. It was insane. The Japanese robot walked out of the trailer on its own, and but while we were there, my one girl who was our team captain this year, and she was our coder. She said, "Are we staying?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, we want to see some of the good robots, go after we got knocked out of the competition." She goes, "Oh, I've never been to the ocean before." And I was like, "You're kidding me." And I was like, "We're gonna go watch some more robots, and then you get in the car." And this is Olivia, and that was the first time she ever got to see the ocean. So there we go. That's what we do with robots, and that's how I think design influences.
I don't know about you, but just the fact that these kids were able to be in that space from people around the world and see this vision inspiration for the future. And yet again, it wouldn't be possible for me to talk for a week to be able to make the case as what these teachers are doing here. And yet again, I challenge those of you that actually can make an impact. How do we have that happen throughout the state for all the kids? And on that note, I'm going to bring up Remica Gray with the Arkansas Arts Council. She's chair of that this year, and probably every other arts-related thing in Texarkana. Please make welcome Remica.
Thank you, Lenore. I do want to bring greetings to you on behalf of the Arkansas Arts Council. A particular thank you to the legislators for the funding that we received from the legislature. And then it's our privilege and pleasure to turn around and be able to offer that to various arts organizations and projects and individuals through our state. And that's tremendous, and we appreciate that so very much. Thank you for all that you do for arts through the state, through the Arkansas Arts Council. I was having a little conversation with Lenore the other day, more on logistics, I think, as it started out, and we began to talk a little bit about my involvement with the Symphony, one of the arts organizations that I have a pleasure of being involved with right now, and some of our challenges going through the last couple of years in terms of survival, basically, for most of us as arts organizations and individuals. And she said, "Why don't you come and talk to us about arts and technology?" And I said, "Because I know about this much about technology, so I am no expert on this particular topic. However, I will make a few remarks about some of the ways that I have watched technology evolve with the arts for even those of us who are no longer young and students and may not be as involved with technology ourselves, but some of the things that I have learned and observed, and then I'll share a few things that I've talked about with some of my artist friends as we were talking about other projects. So I will tell you that with the symphony, we have been involved in education also with Tri-School and their music program, and technology has been a huge benefit to us. We will be getting involved this year, actually in 2 weeks, with Carnegie Hall and the Link Up program. And these students will be participating in a program that is now worldwide with Carnegie Hall's input and all of their expertise, advice, staff that can help us give an exceptional musical experience that we might not be able to do on our own. Our teachers are benefiting from that through the technology that Carnegie Hall provides to us and that they have in their schools. So not only are the kids getting educated, but they are as well. Those of us are, a lot of our musicians, our orchestra director even will be involved in this particular program for this first time. So it's allowing a whole new area of communication and opening up new connections for us here locally as it is with others all over the country. Our organization had to, with the symphony, we had to learn about some things in technology that we had not been using in order to get through these last couple of years. And we were able to use social media, Zoom programs, and so forth for our fundraisers. And in turn, we reached audiences that we were not reaching before. We were actually getting more of our message out that we had not been able to get before, as far as we were able to get it. People began to look at us and even support us to a certain extent that really didn't even know anything about us before. So those pieces of technology that we were forced to use are now going to become a way of operation for us now. And I'm sure other organizations across our state and nation have experienced much of the same thing. I was talking with Christopher Batchers back here, my friend, about another subject he had contacted me about to see if I could help a little bit with some musicians for an open alleys program that he's helping to initiate in downtown Texarkana. And so, of course, I was going to pick his brain a little bit about this particular topic. And you know, artists are using the digital and technological advances to both create and to promote. And he was telling me a little bit about things that I really wasn't even thinking about from an organizational standpoint, but that individual artists have to go through all the time, trying to find ways to get their art out there. They couldn't get together anymore. They weren't able to have their shows. People were not coming to galleries. And so they had to come up with different ways to get their message out, to show their work and their wares. And of course, the email, Instagram, the web pages, things that most of us are now all familiar with, videos. Zoom became really a way of life for them to put their displays and their images out to market their work. They also get a lot of inspiration from technology now, with the different kinds of technology, different types of inspiration. The technology is being used as a communication tool in ways that I wasn't thinking about either. Not only do they need to get their work out there, meeting other collectors, having that communication between other collectors and being able to talk with them about their art, show their art, hopefully sell their art, is important for them. To receive training, to tour museums, to participate in online auctions like we did, and just to have conversations about art. Technology has become incredibly important for that. So those tools of technology that we were forced to use during the pandemic have not just become opportunities, but now they're necessities, as we've seen in education for children going forward, also necessities for those who are past that particular point in their life, but who are making a living, or the organizations who are working so hard to provide access to these things for other people. And access was actually the big word that Christopher came up with for me, and I think it's important as I close my remarks to point out that that has become a big challenge for artists, and particularly in our state. And we get real focused on Argenta and North Little Rock, Northwest Arkansas, with all of the wonderful opportunities that go on there, and the tremendous funding that is available in those particular areas. But we have a lot of rural areas in our state. We have a lot of communities that don't have access, some of them even to the internet, and particularly high-speed internet. Christopher was telling me there were some classes and opportunities that some people couldn't get on because their internet speed wasn't even great enough to be able to participate in those particular classes. So it's not just the children that need it, it's the adults and the people that are actually trying to make their living in the arts world that need this access. Museums. Those of us that live in cities that have those particular things forget that there's a large component of our state that doesn't have an access to a museum. So being able to take virtual tours, which we've all discovered during the pandemic, was really a blessing and a big support. And now being able to take advantage of workshops, gallery tours, the internet. And of course that's getting more and more expensive. So making it affordable is going to be a big challenge for us going forward. And we don't want people who are contributing to our creative economy in Arkansas to miss these opportunities and not have that available and not have that affordable and not being able to participate in those daily programs and workshops. So technology does seem to be one of the answers for the issue of access. And I think we'd be remiss if we who are supposed to be the forward thinkers did not consider the accessibility to technology or the lack thereof when we're doing our future planning and when we are going through our particular funding processes. So I think this is a great challenge for all of us to do what we can whenever we can to help support this, to help be sure the communication is available and that the access is also available. Thank you.
Well, as you can see from demonstrations and the presentation by Chris and Remica's remarks, and certainly, Lenore's opening, this is really all about the creative economy. And from the beginning, the vision that Senator Elliott and Representative Warren had and challenged Arkansans for the Arts with was, how do we change the narrative around arts? How do we change how we're talking about arts? And how do we bring about the creative economy into this discussion? Little brief background about creative economy. You can go ahead and put the first slide up if you want to, Alton. I love this slide. This demonstrates why develop half a brain when everybody was born with a full one. We saw that on steroids this morning. We heard it from Chris. We experience it every day. That is the difference. The creative economy, very briefly, got its start in 2005, 2004 by Richard Florida. He started out with it, calling it the creative class. And what he wanted to find out was, what is the value of the creative people who are fueling the nonprofit world through the arts? Well, that's great. Americans for the Arts picked that up. They phrased creative economy, but it was all nonprofits and it was all arts and it was very limited. That is not the creative economy that we're talking about. Our creative economy is broader, it blurs the lines, and it engages all of the brain. You've seen that. This is probably the best definition of it, and this is also from Richard Florida, updated, because When people got a hold of the creative class concept, they started thinking, wait a minute, those people work in marketing departments, they work in city government, they work in industry, they work everywhere. This is bigger. So the other side of the brain got in and said, this is economic development. This is an economic industry of its own. So let's start looking at that. And that's what happened. Those industries that are based on individual creativity, skill and talent with the potential to create wealth, jobs, by developing intellectual property, patents, marketable products, and services. It's the intersection that blurs the line between arts, culture, business, and technology. Clearly, arts are the basis and at the core of everything that's done with the creative economy. Oh, also, I wanted to point out, these are the primary acceptable sectors of the creative economy, and you can see all of the variety. The film industry, which is an example we love to use, intersects, without even thinking about it, intersects with 9 of these 12 sectors. And depending on the project, it'll cover all 12 of those. So that's a good example to think of when you're thinking about the creative economy. It's not only the product that's being produced, they hire electricians, set designers, they shop, they drink and eat a lot when they're in your town. They buy hardware, they really kind of sink back into the community pretty much.
They use lots of makeup. They use lots of makeup.
Yes, yes. Hairdressers, yeah, the whole ball of wax. And the creative economy is growing, which is what we want you to focus on, really, as you keep saying this, as you start formulating your ideas for the report. It's an economy that is uniquely positioned even when other economies are lagging. We saw this during COVID. Who were the first to pivot? Number one, they understood technology because most of them utilize it as a tool in some way, not to the extent that they learned it, but also they pivoted, they helped us heal, they helped us bring people back, they helped us keep things like the symphony alive, many, many others of those. So that's a demonstration of it. They operate independently, although they are interdependent and intersect with every other economic sector. I'm not going to go through all these, you can read them. The one thing is it's exportable. It's a green industry. It's everywhere. Bad news of that is the talent is exportable. That's one thing we cannot allow to happen. We've had too much of a brain drain. Lenore brought that up and always does. Too much of a brain drain in the state of Arkansas. We have to create opportunities and do something that will retain them and keep them. The kids, as you saw, they're hungry. They love this stuff. They're proud of it. And where are they going to be in 5 or 10 years? Scares me to death. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. And of course, creative economy and arts drives tourism, community development, revitalization, attracts businesses and increases revenue and creates more jobs. It's an industry all by itself. When you compare tourism as a number 2 industry in the state, and everybody loves tourism, and arts and technology drives tourism. Well, look at the creative economy. Compare 5.4 billion. More jobs, and it's growing. The potential, the opportunity on your notepads, potential realized. That's the place where we are right now today, is to be able to do something about it. This discussion, these presentations, these ideas, the research, the tools, have never been put together and assembled like this until the boot camp. It's a great opportunity for everybody to jump on it and do something about it. So what do we do about this? Now, this is going to either work great or it's going to be a disaster. So what we want is input. Senator Elliott made the mistake of suggesting we do a live word cloud. So it's your fault. And normally we say, don't use your phones. Well, you need to stretch a little bit anyway. Come up and scan this code. And if you can't scan the code, you can go on your browser and put in that URL. But come up and scan your code and it should take you to a screen that will allow you to stretch. Right.
This is almost like home.
I didn't know we were using that right. I am too.
Are you getting it?
That little yellow bar sticks up.
Did you get it?
So what do we do after that?
I'm in a row, guys. You know me, John. You know me, John. Yeah, there we go.
Nobody got it. But what do we do after that? Just do stuff like that?
Yeah.
We just do a thumb.
No, I. Go through the stretch anyway, right? Okay, so everybody pretty much got it? There you go. Do you have to move the slides? Okay. Good, okay. Go to the first question. Okay. So here's the first question. When you think about the creative economy, what do you think of? When you hear that phrase, what do you think of?
Do we have to do 3 words?
You do however many you want. I don't think I put a limit on it.
3 letters.
But, yeah, well, you could fill them in if you want to. Cool? Cool? Progress, creation.
So our answers are showing up on that board.
Yeah. It worked, and I gotta say, I gotta thank Alton back there, Ron, Ingenia. They have been phenomenal, and we were not sure this was gonna work. Thank you, thank you. Works like a charm. So yes, as you put your words in, it populates. This is really cool. I love this. I love curiosity, innovation, interdisciplinary. The dots are connecting when you think about the creative economy. They're connecting. Okay, Alton, you want to go to the next question? Are the arts important to grow the creative economy?
Yeah.
5 out of 13. See, I can tell who's voting down here. It worked. Yeah, you're okay now. Okay, we got 17, we got everybody in. Next question. What's the largest tourist attraction in your city, county, or district? You can put as many as you want to. Who's that? Okay, all right. Excellent. Excellent. Hearn Fine Art. Gee, who put that in, Garbo? Wonder who. This is important because also one of the challenges that boot camp has is to develop an ongoing inventory of cultural and arts assets throughout the state.
Boys and girls.
Yeah. Cultural assets, and we have sent out surveys. You can get the survey on our Kansas for the Arts. This is the kind of information that we need to pull out because that needs to go into the report and into the inventory. And also, this is a good way of looking at, you look at the variety and everything that is up there. You start looking at the potential of partnerships, collaboration, or even strengths within your own city, county, or district, where you can say, I've got potential to grow my creative economy, create jobs, and grow revenue, tax base, and I'm not leveraging it. I'm not doing anything about it. But I've got all the ingredients I need to do it. So this information is extremely important to every one of us in this room to grow our economy, because it's about jobs and revenue. Photographer's Island, where's that?
It's supposed to, it's the same thing.
It's right behind you.
Right behind you.
Ah, okay.
It's the state line.
Everybody had enough time to put stuff in? You want to go to the next question? What's the largest industry in your city, county, or district? You can see where this is going. Next. hand up there? Interesting group.
Hi, Dave.
Can you see the creative economy potential within that list of industry? I mean, it's kind of screaming. So, you know, again, what's your biggest tourist attraction? Because that's something that everybody can kind of, I think, relate to and talk to. What's your biggest industry? How can they come together for the creative economy? How can you approach these industry and industry leaders and work with your chambers, your A&P commissions, your, you know, economic development, your city managers, and go, how can we grow the creative economy? And then you couple it with the research and say, here's what we know about our zip code, city, county, district. Here's what we know about your company. Here's what we know about the potential of the creative economy. We can make it grow. Next question, Alton. Is arts and technology training important to the future of workforce development? I love the floating art. Okay, we're there. Next question. Is it important to integrate arts and technology into early education? Yeah. Next question? No question on that one. Should Arkansas AEDC make it a priority to advance the creative economy?
Sing it on the old phone. I'm so excited. That really works.
That's it. Okay, I think, more. Great. Next slide. I think which is more important to grow the creative economy? Tourism, workforce training, and arts and technology, education, new tech, remote workers.
Number 2.
Yeah, we only get one choice? All of these choices that I've seen. You get more than one, didn't you? I forgot how I set it up. Yeah, you can rate them. Slide the bar and rate them. Wow. Okay, do you see what you did? Workforce training and education. It's the key.
Sandy, are these gonna be like screenshotable, like are the conclusions of this capturable or something?
Yeah, I can download them on PDF or whatever, yeah. Workforce training in arts and technology, that's great, that's great.
Sandy, we post all this stuff on our website, on campus.
We will.
Okay.
I can export this in PDF or Excel.
And then John, can we do the same thing? Can we put it on can we put this on our website, connected to the,
I think, I just think that's huge right there, Sandy, because I know in Hot Springs, Garland County, that is one of our biggest initiatives is workforce training, right now. So many, we've gotten to the point that we recognize every student is not going to go to college. So many in technology field. I'm not gifted at it, but so many are now, especially coming up through the ranks of schools, learning what they're learning K through 6. But that just emphasizes what we're doing, connecting with our 2-year universities. And, of course, we want every kid to go to college that wants to, but the workforce training is a huge issue. So I really appreciate seeing it.
It is, and it's, the reason that it's coming up is because we're in a contained room with presentation that saw demonstrations, saw research, different things. So our minds are focused on what the creative economy really has. That's why if you have an opportunity to have this kind of conversation, to draw more out in other groups, a mini version of some of this stuff will get you there. I mean, that's terrific, that's strong. The other thing about that is too, it's not only the youth, it's not only the secondary, the elementary, secondary, and higher education. We have an opportunity and probably an obligation to retrain a lot of our workers and a lot of our, I can say it, old people, because I know one, to retrain them. We've got workforce issues, we all know that, but we've got talent, we've got brains. Again, why use half a brain when everybody was born with a full brain? We need to do that. So that's that concentration. But getting to the workforce development, you look at workforce training, you look at Get Ready Arkansas, you look at those kind of things. What's missing? Arts, technology combined. Technology is there in coding, it's there in robotic, it's there in different things like that, using a screen to CAD drawings. But the creation of products and the creative, innovative thinking that we all know, Chris brought that up, we need creative and innovative thinking right now. And that's what's missing in it. Is there one more? Yes, please.
Let me say thank you. I want to thank Senator and Representative. My great fear, she has a way of twisting your arm in a nice way and saying you're going to be a part of this one way or the other. So I just anticipate that. But my great fear is that at the end of all of this tour and learning all of this, that it's going to go away. I just want to make sure that everyone in this room continues to call your legislator and tell him or her how very important this boot camp is. This cannot be just 1 year thing, because once we let it fall, we're not going to get it back. And so that's my great concern. And I would hope that my fellow legislators feel the same way going forward, because we're not going to grow as a state. We're not going to become the #1 state that we need to be if we are not cognizant of how important all of this really is.
Absolutely. Here, here.
Yeah, I didn't pay her to say any of that. But I will. Real quickly.
Joyce, a lot of us have been a part of music for a long time, but I wondered how that could play a part in this with the technology and the computers. I saw this come to life this weekend in the production of Jesus in Branson, Missouri. Joyce, I never had seen anything like this before, and how the technology could throw everything together with the music. It's unbelievable. And I told Julie, I said, we're going in this direction.
There is no reason we can't have these kind of things in Southwest Arkansas. It is a matter of will and people working together. And I thank so much, folks with Arkansans for the Arts and for them helping us to put something concrete around our thinking. And I want you to know, when people ask, at the end, what's the end result here? We are not going to be able to have as many boot camps as we thought we would because of COVID, God forbid, because of COVID, and because for some reason we had this great idea to have another legislative session. I don't know where that came from, but here we did. So it's your point.
Well, no, I have a question if time allows.
You were gonna be in big trouble.
That's right, yeah, I don't get in trouble, so.
June, July, probably. It's planned everything for us to do lunches and other things. I want you to just tell them what we're gonna do. So at the end of all of this, we are charged with, in the legislation, putting together a report to submit to the governor and to the president pro tem and the speaker of the house and to the public in general. What we hope to do, and we have to figure out a way to do it because everything, like I said, didn't work out the way we wanted it, is have a report where we can say, here is what's possible. We don't have all the answers. We just looked around and went, our future can be through arts and technology. And we literally created an arts caucus, deliberately a Republican and a Democrat, because we didn't want it to be anything, but this is our future that we were, and so we did this on purpose. So we're gonna have that report, but I can tell you right now, because we did not get a chance to go and be everywhere we wanted to be, there will be a recommendation in the report for how we can keep going with this in the test bill. And I will be term limited, and I will be looking at y'all and harassing you every time I have to, Stephen and everybody else, because we can't get our heads around everything that's possible in this short amount of time. But this is how Arkansas can be something that we've never imagined before. So it's up to the imagination of anything. I hope we
So-
get Southeast. Yeah. We started out in Pine Bluff, remember, we need to go deep. Yeah.
So on that, first off, since we're talking art and technology, happy Star Wars Day, everybody. 'Cause So I would ask in that recommendation, and I've actually been at some of our colleagues about this, is we have a technology committee in the House, and so it would be nothing for us to pick up on this and continue it. However, you do not have a technology committee in the Senate, and so please include that in your report, because we need to do that.
Yeah.
And there may not be time here today, but as you all know, on the state level, we've made broadband a priority. I've been looking at how the state better utilizes data so we can be smarter about decisions we're making. Cybersecurity is something also I'm looking at, because of, obviously we know how important that is. But I would love to hear from the other folks in the room, and maybe this is where your report's, what the ask is from us. So when I leave here today, what actionable items do we have that we as a state need to be looking at to promote this in our state? Because I'll tell you a personal story. When I graduated from high school, my dad's job moved us to Florida. And I'm not making this up. Some of the high school kids in Florida asked if we in Arkansas had indoor plumbing for the bathroom. Do we still use outhouses? Because that was the view that all these other states had. Thankfully, that's starting to change. But I think there's still work to be done, and this can be, with the governor's initiatives, can be key to changing that perception that Arkansas is a small, backwards little state in the country.
That's right, and in response to your question, there are two things I see right off that we need to be thinking about as legislators and everybody in the room. One is, we say we're getting serious about the broadband thing, that everybody's going to have access. That of course should have been done 10 years ago, but we need to really not let that go. And make sure it's not just about our districts, it's about everybody's district everywhere. And the second thing is, it is really obvious, one of the things that we talked about when we wanted to start this project is this has to be based on an equitable idea of access and for everybody.
And so the other thing I would ask of folks in this room is think about who is not here. Think about who are some of the influencers and who want to be influencers, and if we don't include them, people we're not used to working with. Because that's what happens with art and technology, especially in the arts. People get along in the arts more so than we do in our own neighborhoods because they don't have this closed mindset. And let your imagination flow. Don't be cut off and fail to allow yourself to see the possibilities. I love this place. There is too much here to say, oh, well, my kid's gonna graduate and head off to wherever. I say to people all the time, and I say to folks in Walmart, we are paying you to do what you do because your stores are everywhere. You need to think about being a little bit more generous from some of the places, but suppose they're not. It's up to us. We can do this.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna interrupt here for a second, and I'm a nobody, but I'm about to crawl out of my skin. One of the dimensions that it seems that is really missing here is we are already sending money out. You know, what are our industries outsourcing that are creative jobs now? Having worked as a consultant in technology for many years, I saw that. I mean,
yes.
You know, I was trained in Arkansas, I got my education in Arkansas, but when it came time to get a job, I got a consultant job out of state. And so, and then you go into these industries and they're spending huge amount of monies for consultants from out of state to come in. We already have this money in the state and we're sending it out. We really need to get a good grasp on how much money that is that we're outsourcing instead of holding on to it, giving to the folks that we're educating. We're paying to get them educated. Don't send it back out.
I really love it. You came off that chair. Levitation is a good strategy. Last comment,
And I appreciate
And I'm
that.
from Hot Springs.
I appreciate it because I think part of what we're getting to is that we're trying to make Arkansas the best it can be. I love the idea of, technology committee. I think there's one other committee that needs to be involved, and that's education. I think a combination of technology and education is where we can make this happen. I had an experience that has taught me the value of the arts in developing the mind, and that was with my mother. I moved to Hot Springs last 8 years of her life. She had Alzheimer's, and I watched a deterioration over 8 years. But the doctor told me my mother grew up being taught to play the piano, played it beautifully. And the doctor told me the last thing that would go was her ability to play the piano. Now, my mom could not do a lot of things toward the end. I remember in the last few months, she was living in an assisted living. I said, Mom, let's go out here and play the piano for her. And she sat down and she had played the piano all the way up until this point. Could not remember anything, but she could sit down and play. She sat down and she went. So we'll start over. She goes, I can't do it anymore. That was probably about 6 months before she passed away. But that part of her brain kept going when not much else. We say thank you to Texarkana. Y'all have been amazing.